The opinions made in this video do not necessarily coincide with that of Imaginary Goddess, or anyone else for that matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
The Mercenary King comes back for another week. This is Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King here, with another state of play, number 9, if I recall correctly. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to cover Aquaforce and winning images in general. Then I'm going to work over a Sanctuary of Light deck that I've been very dissatisfied with, and from there, I'll start covering some stuff from the Fighters collection. Okay, so let's get to work now. So here we have some Aquaforce stuff. If you are very astute or you have memorized these cards, you'll see that these all have to do with standing or increasing the number of attacks that you can do in a turn. The good thing about this is that this sort of lets you sort of see what your options are. The best cards in Aquaforce, except for, of course, Glory Maelstrom, which requires 5 damage, do require a certain number of attacks to succeed. The most common number I find being 4, but a couple have 5 or 3 here and there. So how do we get that way? Well, there's multiple ways to do this. We can call cards into the field, switch places, stand again, except lose power. Lose power. Let's see, there was a grade 3 version, wasn't there? Oh yeah, Benedict. Do I have any here? I believe I do, somewhere. Let's see. There he is. I knew there was a grade 3 version. But of course, it's for no cost like Counterblast, where everybody does lose 5k. He loses 5k too. And so, you have to decide what you want to do. So let's see here. Let's get started with the grade 0s. Counterblast 1, put this unit into the soul. When this attack hits a Vanguard, when this unit boosts an Aquaforce, choose one of your Aquaforce rearguards and stand it. Very simple. It's a -1 for another attack. This another attack could be something like Valeria, which lets you kill something on your opponent's field, or like Marine General Algos, who lets you draw a card on hit. And these are, of course, all on hits. By the time that you get up to 5 or 4 attacks, you can have the potential to put a lot of pressure on there, but then it's all in how you do it. Grade 1s, we have Blue Storm Battle Princess Crystal Elizabeth. Counterblast the Blue Storm. When an attack hits a Vanguard that's unit boosted, if you have an Aquaforce Vanguard, choose one of your Aquaforce from hand, call it to R. What I do for this is, early in the game, or mid-game, this is when she's most useful to me. I can use her to call out another card on the rearguard circle, and like an extra grade 3 in my hand. Let's say I have 2 grade 3s, I can call one out. 2 Maelstroms, I only need 1 Maelstrom, so I get another attack, because usually it's like a 19k column with a 12k attacker, or it's a something else like that, a 16k column with what's her name? His name is Spyros, and it's useful in that regard. Of course, the special Counterblast is restriction. With Vanguard, the amount of power that is connected with a card goes up with the amount of restrictions that it goes up. Let's talk about Crystal Elizabeth. First restriction is that she needs a Blue Storm or Special Counterblast. Second, that she needs the boost. Third, Aquaforce Vanguard. And fourthly, it needs to be an Aquaforce card from hand. It's really very simple. There are a lot of cards that do it better in other clans, but at the same time, for Aquaforce, this is actually a decent card. Because it can allow you to make changes on your fly. And for me, Aquaforce is all about that long-term strategy. It's not so much about the numbers, though you must hit good numbers and keep your numbers as solid as possible. It's all about the long-term win. The Maelstrom, in that sense, is one of the greatest pressure cards ever invented. Reverse Maelstrom, even more. Glory, of course, is just intense because of its denial of grade 1 uses to guard, so no quintet walls, no perfect shields. But at the same time, this sort of increases it a bit, puts a little on hit like a spice that I think works very well. We've got Stormrider which is essentially a Basil. In other words, first attack a Vanguard, It doesn't need to be the first battle of turn for these guys. Let's see, attack to Vanguard. Yeah, okay, so it doesn't need to be the first attack, and that's good. So they can actually combo up with Basil and Diamantes and others. But basically you exchange positions in the same column, so you go like this. You know, boom, boom. Then we have Wheel Assault, which actually allows you to switch over to whether or not they've got an ability that allows them to. So you could have like 2 12k attackers in a row, and he's switching them. But he has to boost. Again, restriction, Counterblast 1, boosts Aqua Force Vanguard. Oh, here's interesting. It doesn't need to boost an Aqua Force, so you know, if you like the multi-clan. But you have to choose 2 Aqua Force Rearguards and switch them. He's okay. It was revealed to me by the person I talked to over YouTube that they do not need to be in the same column where I assumed they did. That'll be something I'll be looking into later, but I don't see why. Maybe if you somehow put a card behind your Vanguard, I guess, I don't know. Stormrider Eugen, he's a grade 1 version of Basil. He's an AK attacker when you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, first battle of the turn. It gets plus 2k, beginning of close up of battle. Switch columns. Boom. Boom. Not as useful, I find. He's just an 8k attacker, which is super useless the second turn, or even the first turn you can attack on, depending on what sort of rearguard they have. Vanguard power they have. I mean, even a 9k weakling can certainly block him. But at the same time, it's his utility that's more important. On the other hand, you don't want your cards to be useless as soon as it comes out. Like, Crystal Elizabeth is useful forever because she can, like, let's say that I don't have enough attacks to really use Maelstrom. So I attack with the center line, give all triggers to rearguard line, boosts. Let's say they let it hit because it doesn't have a crit. Counterblast 1 Blue Storm, summon out something I drove check. In this way, she keeps her usefulness. Of course, I'm not saying that this situation will be happen often, but against like Narukami or Kagero, sure, certainly will. Then we get to the grade 2s. There's 6 in particular that I want to focus on. Grade 1 version of him. Let's see. Spyros, which is Counterblast of Blue Storm, another restriction. At the end of the battle, this unit attack to Vanguard, restriction. If you have a grade 3 or greater Aqua Force Vanguard, restriction. First or second battle of the turn, 4th restriction, 5th restriction. Stand this unit. Cannot be used for the rest of the turn. So basically what you can do is Basil, boom, a special counterblast, boom. And of course this is just a 9k. But the benefit is that you can get off 3 attacks in one column, and that's why I use her. I don't like Tidal Assault because he loses power. You get 1 good attack with Tidal Assault, and then you get 1 weak attack. Now, if let's say you have a booster behind him, you can have 1 full powered attack for 16k, assuming of course 7k rearguard, or an 11k attack, which, you know, isn't really better for me because 1 attack is always too weak to block. But this, the power is returned. Usually I attack the Vanguard, then I attack a rearguard to force out a little bit more minus. Force a little bit more cards out on my opponent. Let's see, here we have Basil. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, Aqua Force Vanguard, first battle of the turn, so he's always the first attacker. He gets plus 2k, and then he switches with the same column. Back in the day when there was a lot of 10k Vanguards out, or a lot of ride chains required for 11k Vanguards, he was good. Now, not so much. I use him for the free attack. I usually put a 12k or an 11k attacker behind him, just so I can keep it. Then Battle Siren Kalista is actually pretty interesting, but I've never been able to use her right. I think I might, when Aqua Force comes out, I think in set 16 for the English version, set 17 for the Japanese, Counterblast 1 with this unit attack hits a Vanguard. If you have an Aqua Force Vanguard, and this is a 4th battle of turn or more, you may pay the cost if you do stand Aqua Force Rearguard, and that unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. You know, that's nice. I can stand up, say, another 12k attacker for a 17k. Well, 11k if that's the deck I'm envisioning. You know, and you can really do some things with her that you can't really do with others. Still, she's not really good in a Maelstrom deck, which is why I don't run her. Now, Tidal Assault, he is, when this at the end of the battle, this unit attacked a Vanguard. So it has to attack a Vanguard for a skill to go off, a restriction, stand this unit. And this unit gets a minus 5k until end of turn. This ability cannot be used for the rest of the turn. Sure, he's good for a quick boom boom. Not denying that. Doesn't need to be the first battle. Doesn't need to be anything else like that, and the second attack can go wherever it wants. At the same time, it's a 4K attacker the second time, 9K attacker the first time. Don't say that you can give it power or anything like that, because you lose power on other things, and the amount of power, and Aqua Force doesn't really give itself to giving power to anything. Really, it's a style. You know, what sort of style and what sort of deck are you going to use? I'm running a quasi-traditional Maelstrom deck with Blue Storm archetype support. Blue Storm is, of course, just really Maelstrom support. So I run this, and I run the 12K attacker as my grade 2s. It's very simple, very solid. I could run this. Nothing's denying it. Some criticisms of my deck is that it's counterblast heavy. Sure it is. I could use up to 3 counterblasts a turn, and that's when I get Maelstrom's ability off. But at the same time, I do have some things that correct for it, and I just feel that it's working for me, and it is. And that's more important than just about anything else. If your deck works for you, it is a good deck. I've seen decks that are absolute crap in my hands, but at the same time, the person who built the deck understood the deck and could make it sing in their hands. It's like what I'm saying about journeyman pieces with my Lena Bermuda deck and my mercenary, my Mega Colony deck. There are decks that you will be just simply better at. You become stronger by, of course, acquiring more decks and mastering each clan in turn, which is what I do with, myself. But at the same time, you can really sense nuances. The last one I want to talk about is part of the Genovius ride chain. If you have Silent Ripple Sotario in your soul, so you can get plus 1K, and when it attacks, it's a Vanguard, and because it's on the Vanguard circle, it probably will, because no one's going to block it. At least they usually don't. If you have Sotario in the soul, choose one of your Aqua Force rearguards, stand it, and gets plus 3K in a turn. I've seen combos where it's like 5 damage, and it's only turn 1 for you. Turn 2 for your opponent. And it's like, well, everything's going to be super hard in the future, and that's, of course, the time to put the screws to him. Really decent card. Like him, think Genovius is underappreciated. He combos well with Zaharias, because you create a deck around power, as well as things that, like Callista, that gain abilities after the 4 attack that are not based upon the Vanguard. You can play Aqua Force in 2 ways, really. About the rearguards or about the Vanguard, and they don't really mix, I find. Zaharias and Genovius, of course, both are about sanding rearguards in their own way, so you can do Callista, you can do Valeria, Algo, so on and so forth. Last we have the grade 3s. This is actually sort of a difficult point for a lot of people. Right now we're moving into an ace-only meta, ace/break ride only meta, as in 2 legions, 2 break rides, not 2 break rides, break ride ace, and even legion break ride with things like you could do it in Aqua Force, but you can also do it in Spike Brothers and a few others. Basically, like him, he's Spyros for grade 3. He's better because he's a 10K and he can hit more potentially, but at the same time, he's still too weak to really hit 11K. Then we have Benedict, who is a Tidal Assault, 5+ standing in, minus 5K. And Lysander for a column switcher for Counterblast 1 whenever you want. And Diamantes, who's an 11K per battle. He's actually pretty decent. And back in the day, he was one of the feared cards that you'd not want to see in the original Maelstrom decks. You'd run him with Maelstrom, along with a couple others, and basically he'd do this for an 11K attack, and against your 11K Vanguard, that's pretty harsh. They can't really make Basil an 11K attacker on the first attack, because that would be OP. OP is a hard discussion, what makes OP. But at the same time, you can sort of see what's overpowered by the Japanese meta, what's dominating every single damn tournament. That is what is OP. Because the Japanese don't have the same creativity American card fighters seem to do. Doesn't mean they have less skill, it just means less creativity when they come to their main tournament decks. Let's see here. And so you really have to make your own. Now, let's get back to here. You have to make your own choices. Do you prefer Tidal Assault? Run Tidal Assault. Do you prefer Basil? Run Basil. I like the traditional Maelstrom, so I run Basil. because also I can boost him, so he's at least a 7k attacker, and yet he's 8k. Yet he has such utility as to allow for multiple attacks. You really have to judge it and figure it out. Because if you don't figure it out, you could lose a lot of matches not understanding why your opponent's winning. It doesn't matter that Basil can't hit, or that he can't hit on the second attack. Because the third attack's going to a rear guard and you just dropped 5k. Then Karma Maelstrom Dragon came in and I killed something else, which is a -2 to your attack. By the way, standing the rest state of Vanguard, push and pull, without any triggers, without any draws or anything like that, is +3 cards per turn, -4 cards per enemy's turn. So you gain 3 cards a turn, give or take, without any draws, without any abilities. You will lose 4 cards to your enemy because of 10k, 10k, perfect shield. Assuming, of course, that this was a field. So 2 cards, or at least 15k. So really, it's all about management there. I consider anything that deviates from that position a plus or a minus. So let's say we play Crystal Elizabeth. Crystal Elizabeth is technically a bit of a minus for a bit of field advantage, but at the same time, it could be a plus to you if it's an on-hit card, or if you gain something from it. Of course, it's not really a plus in that regard. It's just, I'm sorry, I'm really tired here. I need to choose my words a bit better. It's just sort of a break even for you. Hand advantage to field advantage when it's a grade 3, if you have no perfect shields, is okay. Because a grade 3 weighs down your hand if it's not on the field, and if you put down a grade 2, it can be killed and not used for guard. So minusing your opponent is when you lose cards, or the ability to, or you have to guard more. Double crit isn't really a minus to you. It's a passive minus in the future because you have to guard more, but at the same time, I'm assuming you survived this double crit, by the way. But at the same time, it's not really changing the equation in any perceptible way. It just makes you start it sooner, which means more pressure, which means you'll lose faster. At the same time, you could double crit your opponent. So it's an even thing. If both people have the potential to do the same amount of damage to each other over time, it comes down to skill. The reason why Vanguard is skill and luck is because of the distances involved, because of the time it takes to get so long into a game. There's the mid-game, the early game, mid-game, late game. Early game, you set up your field. Mid-game, you start building up your winning image. By the way, the early game and the mid-game should just flow seamlessly so that you don't even notice it. And then late game is when all of a sudden you come out with a 20k, 21k Maelstrom with on-hit ability that your opponent really doesn't want to hit. And of course, if you played it right, he'll have very little to guard with and is constantly on the defensive rather than offensive. So you attack with this, then kill a rear guard, then kill another rear guard. And all of a sudden, they're losing more than just 4 cards a turn. Though, by the way, if you kill a rear guard, it's still within the 4 cards unless they guard it. If they guard it, that's a bit worse because that means that they either don't have replacements, or secondly, they lost a 10k shield, which they need to guard your Vanguard. I don't really count guard in like 5ks or 10ks until it's the turn where you need to really count it. Like 2-pass and all that jazz, sure I count that. But, sorry, my words are coming out very confusingly. I don't count it in the sense that I say, okay, I'm going to need at least this many cards to guard him, at least this many cards to guard him. Let's see if I can do it. Yes, I can, so let's start guarding. Really, though, it all comes down to the skill of the individual card fighter. Can you stand the fact that you will have 1 useless attack with this guy? Guaranteed. Can you stand the fact that you need a special counterblast? Can you stand the fact that this is an AK? Can you stand the fact that this has to use the ride chain? Otherwise, it's useless. It's all in what you can use to your advantage. The best card fighters, of course, it doesn't matter what happens. they can literally pick up a deck and start playing it and figure it out on the go. That's how I train, the few people I consider my students. I said, okay, here's a deck. Let's fight. Okay, so we fought. And then I said, all right, let's switch decks. So I played their deck, which I had already knew what it was about, because when you're a beginner in Vanguard, your decks aren't very subtle. Also, you go for the big plays. Like a Raging Form deck is just, okay, Counterblast to summon up a Revenger, Mordred, summon up a Masquerade, booster behind this, Blaster Dark somewhere, it's all the same. But all of a sudden, like you play with a Masters deck, you see like, oh, there's a couple of Blood Masters in there, there's a couple of Manas, or there's something, and it works well. Even though you kind of know it shouldn't, it does. So, this is sort of something that I've been working on, and I'll demonstrate to you right now. So, I've got a Sanctuary of Light deck. I like it. It's a Royal Paladins. Right now I'm running 4 heal, 8 crit, 4 draw, and Ride Chain, which is a Gen 4. When a card named Sanctuary of Light Little Storm rides this unit, look up top 7 cards, search for grade 2, grade 3 of the same chain, reveal it to your opponent, shuffle to your hand, otherwise it gets Forerunner. So here's the problems with this deck. First off, I merged 2 winning images. Field Advantage through grade 1s, through Sanctuary Guard Dragon, and Sanctuary of Light, which is its own thing that I failed to, properly appreciate. And in that sense, it's not really a failing, but it's sort of it's a weakening of this deck. Any deck can win, even a deck that's sort of hobbled and confused as to what its winning image is. I've got a Blaster Blade in there. I don't need a Blaster Blade in there. There's a lot of stuff I can do without that Blaster Blade. I've got a Xenon in here. I'm keeping him in here just because I think it's funny, but I really shouldn't. I should take him out and replace him with a Toy Poogle. And so we'll see a transformation here for something that I believe is very weak, something that's very strong. So let's see. Let's talk about triggers. Right now, I really should be playing 12 crit. I find that I do need Margul's Soul. Margul is put into Soul. Choose one of your gold paladins. This unit gets plus 3k until end of turn. I like it in the sense that I've got some cards in here that use Soul. And you never know when you just need that one Soul to really perk you up. So I'm just going to move myself up to 10 crits. I'm going to use the new Jewel Knight crit that came in set 14. Just because I like the art. It's like jumping on a cicada or a bee or something. I don't know. Point is, it looks interesting. But I am sorry to see the most majestic draw trigger in all of Vanguard disappear from my deck. But at the same time, there's no utility, and this deck is a high pressure. Let's talk about, while I'm doing this, let's talk about how Sanctuary of Light winning image works. Right now, there are 2 grade 3 Sanctuary of right now, the chain, what it does is basically it's a +2 throughout. If you include the Ride Chain. The Ride Chain's ability is from grade 1 to grade 2. If you ride the grade 2 onto the grade 1 directly, you can summon out another Sanctuary of Light. This is good in the sense that it allows a free plus. It is bad in the sense that it's not really strong enough. Aqua Force allows multiple attacks. Let's see, that's a Gen 3. Link Joker locks, a few other things like that. And really, by the way, this is my card back. It's from last Chronicle. Don't really know. Oh dear. Oh, there it is. Don't really know who that character is, but hey, it's pretty cool. So there. The grade 3s is Brightness and Planetal Dragon. Both give power to their rear guards. So Brightness Dragon is essentially a Soul Saver Dragon, giving plus 5k to 3 different units. Whereas Planetal Dragon is plus 3k to all Sanctuary of Light units whenever it attacks. Which leads to some sort of an awkward understanding between me and Sanctuary cards, because I don't really appreciate that. Compared to the second ability, which is Counterblast 2, summon up a Sanctuary of Light. Sure, That's good. That's a good card. It's nice. But at the same time, it's not nearly the sort of pluses I'm expecting in the modern era. In the modern era, we have things like Neo-Nectar, which allows for, you know, many, many pluses for a single counterblast. I believe that Break Ride is a +2. To field, of course. And that's just, wow, a +2. Why can't I get me some of that? Well, that's because, you know, your parents never loved you or something. I don't know. So right now, but of course, it's like, it's balanced in the sense that, sure, it makes it harder to get the +3K to all Sanctuary of Light cards, but at the same time, it makes it difficult in the sense that you have to have Sanctuary of Light cards, otherwise it doesn't work. And part of the transformation that you'll see here is that I will move my cards to Sanctuary of Light as much as possible. Alright, so let's talk about the grade 1s. First off, 4 Perfect Shields. I'm actually going to change one over to a Quintet Wall. Why am I doing this? It is because Sanctuary of Light does not use many cards from the damage zone, from the deck, and plus there's one counterblast lying around for me to use. In this sense, I want to use it on Summoning Jewel Knight Gloria, counterblast 1 with unit placed on guard from hand. Top 5 cards are your guard. If they're Royal Paladins, of course, as rest. I'm not sure why they say as rest. I don't really know of anything that uses things from the guard zone and then summons them back out. If there is anything, please enlighten me. I know there's a Clockwork Year, and hey, that might be something that they do. Which is Clockwork Year? Is it something like that? Them being a new clan that was recently announced, rumored to be of the Dragon Nation, Dragon Empire, but I don't know anything about that quite yet. No abilities as of yet, just so you know, for the new clan, but I'm sure it'll be interesting. Right. So that's pretty simple, actually. I've got a Jewel Knight 1. I've got the normal Flash Shield Missile, bit of interesting history. Back before, by the way, 4 of these, back before set, I want to say set 10, what you could do is you could get a pack of set 1, and if it had a Perfect Shield, you got like $20 for it. But then again, once Mark and Gold Normal were reprinted, the prices for Perfect Shields and Vanguard in general tanked. Good for the community, but at the same time bad for sellers. And we actually saw 1 or 2 go under because of the sudden and extreme drop. Right now, many Perfect Shields are like $2 to $4. I know the Quintet Walls that came out recently are such. So let's work on these in order. 4 Sanctuary of Light Little Storms. This is, of course, for the Ride Chain. Planet Lancer, of course, gets +1K for an AK, which is defensive. When not named Sanctuary of Light Determinator rides this unit, you can, if you have Planet Lancer in the Soul, I can look for the top 7 cards from the deck, search for 1 card, Determinator, and ride it. So in other words, you get a second chance for your Ride Chain. It's pretty awesome in the sense that it allows for another 10k defense, but I'm pretty sure the ability doesn't go up. Wait, does it? Let me see here. When this unit rides, oh yeah, it has to directly ride Little Storm. If it does, and it has to have Planet Lancer in the Soul. If it doesn't, then you don't get the ability, which is summon a Sanctuary of Light into Rearguard Circle. So that's okay. So let's talk about what these guys need to be. Right now, I've got 6 cards I can use for stuff. I'm running 14 grade 1s in this. I might up it to 13, but at the same time, the grade 1 sums out a grade 2. So we'll see what happens. Can potentially summon up a grade 2. So right now I've got Xenon, which is when you put it on Rearguard Circle, if you have a Vanguard, reveal the top card of the deck. If it's the same grade as the unit, ride over it. One of the combos that you can do that's pretty funny but never will work because it's too inconsistent because it's just the top card is this guy. Battleflight Constance, when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, this unit, Royal Paladin Vanguard, counterblast 2 and search for 1 grade 1 or less, this guy, unit. And so what you do is you attack with the Vanguard, you attack with him, boom, he hits, summon out, and you're supposed to get a grade 3. Will you? No. You aren't going to get that at all. But at the same time, it's funny. Really enjoyable sort of idea. I've never actually made it work, and maybe someday I will. What am I going to replace him with? Because I can't have him in it anymore. I'm actually going to replace him and the cards under him with 3 toy Poogles. Marin, by the way, is an 8K. I consider safe. He's a good card, and I can use him to his advantage. For his defense and for the fact that he can boost things beyond 20k. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to boost this up to 4. Because what does Toy Poogle do? For those who don't know, when this unit boosts and the number of grade 3 Royal Paladins are 2 or more, this unit gets plus 3k until end of battle. In an Alfred Easer deck, he is always 9k. Because 2 grade 3s. In Planetable Dragon deck, you can counterblast 2, summon out a grade 3, and he automatically goes off. And when Planetable goes off, that's a 23k column. That's numbers, and that will hit. So, let's SP, only 1 in the set, only 1 per case or something like that. Maybe 2. Maybe it was 2 per case. Oh well. If you guys have any ideas with Xenon, do let me know. I'm always interested to use cards like this in interesting ways. This was back in the day of comic style, and comic style was a failure, honestly. Nobody really knew how to treat Vanguard back in the day, especially Vanguard stocks, and many people bought a lot of comic style because they thought it would be useful. The problem is, comic style has Zanbaku, which is a Murakumo 11k, discard a card if your opponent wants to ride, which is really a Nubatama skill, honestly. And I believe it was originally Nubatama. Cards like Xenon, who, isn't useful in the best of times. Cards like Golden Beast Tamer, who really should be a rare in this modern era. Which is, she has Restraint, Soul Blast 3, lose Restraint. Chimera in the front row gain, I think, plus 3k or something like that. Which isn't really strong enough to make a difference unless you run just a power deck with Crimson Beast Tamers, AK boosters, and a few other things. But really, it's all up to you. Let's see here. By the way, Sword of Hope Richard, he was a promo recently. When this unit placed on rearguard from deck, and you have a Royal Paladin Vanguard, you may pay the cost if you do draw a card, so +1. He's a Din Drain for Royals. He's a Blackwing Swordbreaker for Royals. Pretty decent clone. Enjoy him. Think that he's a bit underappreciated for Royal Paladin decks, but at the same time, he must be using a Sanctuary of Guard deck, which I had mixed into this Sanctuary of Light deck, and it just doesn't work. This deck is all about power. This deck is all about Sanctuary of Light, and I've got to keep it that way. So that's the grade 1 taken care of. 3 Perfect Shields, 1 Quintet Wall, 4 Little Storms, 2 Marins, and 4 Toy Poogles. I think that'll be pretty useful, pretty fun, and it'll be, able to do it. I've already talked about him, how he summons something out if he rides over directly Planet Lancer. I also am going to run 3 Galatins. I like Gallatin just fine. He's a pretty good card. Problem is that there aren't really a lot of 11k attackers in Royals. There's 12k attackers for Jewel Knights. Let's see, self-damagers, which could work, but I don't really want to run an AK in here. Then we have Claudin, who is for a Limit Break 4, and all of them have Limit Break 4. A 11k attacker. And, well, that's it. I'm not going to run Blaster Blade or anything in this deck. And, it's just not really... Royal Paladins still need some love. Sure, they got a lot of Jewel Knight support, and they got a lot of Jewel Knight stuff, but at the same time, it just doesn't work like anyone wants it to. Power-wise, Royal Paladins are the phalanx of, the Cardfight world. You've got a band of brothers, sisters, dogs, etc., etc., standing as one unit, giving each other power and bonuses, or just simply, comboing well together, powerfully. And it works. At the same time, you've got to handle it correctly, and you can't let the pluses get too strong, you can't let them get too weak. Alfred back in the day was a 20k attacker with a full field. which is pretty decent. By the way, the reason why I'm running him, he hits 21k when Planetol goes off, because Little Storm will become a 10k booster. I forgot to mention that. The grade 2s will become 12k attackers with Toy Poogle and another grade 3. That'll be a 21k column. Hits numbers with high amounts of crits. We'll have ourselves a little jamboree. With this in there, hitting 21k, we'll have even more pressure, stronger units and all that jazz. Even with Marins, these things will break 18k almost all the time. These things will hit 18k guaranteed as long as I have a Planetol Dragon as my Vanguard, and 50% chances I will. Oh. Okay. This one then. So, you know, it's good. Good to be the king. Good to be in Sanctuary of Light. The only problem is, of course, you know, the high expense of the counterblasts that you'll have to do, and you have to save them all for the Vanguard. You see, back in the day, when I had a Sanctuary Guard Dragon deck, I could run these cards. Not him. He's fine. And not have a problem, because Sanctuary Guard Dragon doesn't use any counterblasts. I'd have an Akane or two, some Rengalds, and it would work just fine. But at the same time, now that, you know, I need to save all my counterblasts for Planetol Dragon or Brightness Dragon, it changes the game. And it doesn't allow me to use these cards. So, into the compendium they go. Let's see here. One of the things that's always a disappointment to me in sort of the Cardfight lore is that they used Galahad really early on. Galahad was the part of the Holy Grail quests, and he was one of the only knights who was pure enough to really go that far. Everyone else faltered in some way. He was the son of Sir Lancelot and Gancelot in this thing. And basically he guards the Holy Grail. Translated up, if I recall correctly, into heaven towards the end of it. Never joined Arthur sleeping underneath Mysterious Hill or anything like that. Never to wake when England needed him most. So I think they've sort of messed that up, because he was a Counterblast 2. If you've got 6 or more into Soul, he gets plus 3k plus a crit. And it's like, I know you're set 2 or set 3 or whatever, but at the same time we need something a lot more powerful here. Yeah. So, you know, I kind of wish that he was like something like this. Not literally Sanctuary Guard Dragon, but like this or something like that. Toulouse. Or something more important is what I'm trying to say. Because he was never important enough to really be part of the grade 3 revival or anything like that. So let's see what my grade 3s are that aren't part of the Planetol Sanctuary of Light. For a little bit, I removed all Planetols and said, okay, let's see what happens. That was a bad decision. While it does work, it does function as a deck, it's not nearly good. Pendragon is at the beginning of the main phase, Limit Break 4, look at the top 5 cards for a grade 3. Royal Paladin, ride it, and shuffle your deck. He's great for things like this, when he needs stuff that has abilities on ride. But at the same time, he's not really good any time else. He's just a 15k attacker. When this unit plays on Vanguard, this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. Well, that's good, but not great. So we've got also Sanctuary Guard Dragon, Limit Break 4, plus 3k for every grade 1 or less Royal Paladin. By the way, he's fun with Snowgulls, he's fun with Rengalls, he's fun with a whole bunch of people, but something like a Vector Zeus, or Giraffa, or Amber Dragon, which can kill things, Vector Zeus kills all grade 1s on principle when you ride him. All grade 1s, by the way. If you're tag teaming, he kills your friends' grade 1s and your opponents' grade 1s. That messes him up. Discard a card from a hand when it's placed on Vanguard, search for a grade 1. Search for Sword of Hope Rifter to give yourself card advantage. Royals don't have card advantage, they have field advantage only. And it's kind of expensive. This is, of course, cheaper, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, if you have 4 rear guards. Choose a Royal Paladin and call it to an open R and shuffle your deck. Unlock. This is good in the sense that it's an unlocker. Really messes up Glendios and Chaos Breaker to have somebody unlock the stuff that they just usually spent cards on, and they'll not get it back. But at the same time, I've already got 4 in this deck with Brightness Dragon, who is Soul Saber and Counterblast 1 unlock a unit. Came with the Unlockers promos for set 14. So he was part of the tournament, and really, I don't think he works in this deck. He would work with Sanctuary Guard Dragon, Pendragon, Alfred, and a few others, but not this one. So these guys get removed. First thing I'm doing is finally bringing up Brightness Dragon to 4. He's actually the target I'll summon out when I use Planet Idol's ability, Counterblast, to summon out a Sanctuary of Light. Because he'll hit 14k, and with Toy Poogle, that's a 23k column, which hits cross rides. Of course, if they're not running a cross ride deck, I'll just see where the wind blows. But at the same time, I'm not going to worry about it. Best art. It's all up to, if you want to copy this deck, it's all up to your personal strategy. The core of the deck is 4 Sentinels and the Ride Chain and Brightness Dragon. So that's your starter, 8 grade 1s, 4 grade 2s, 8 grade 3s. And really anything you go on from there is up to you. You could decide that you want to run Sword of Hope Richards and have Akanes and stuff like that. Not Akanes, but, Constances and stuff like that. And while I think I've, proven through my own personal experience that that isn't really a great deck, you can also sort of figure out, how to make it work for you. What, cards do you have an affinity for? I'm turning this deck into a simple pressure deck. That's all pressure, all the time, all business. I'd run 12k crit, but I'm worried about losing soul. If that is an actual issue later on, hey, I'll fix it. But at the same time, I don't know if it is. If I get the Ride Chain off, I will have 4 in the soul if I ride Planetl, and then ride up to Brightness. So, it's a difficult question, really, to see how far I can go with this. So here we have this. Oh yeah, sleeving. I have extra big sleeves, as you can probably tell, and so it's difficult to work with. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. So, as I mentioned earlier, Counterblast 2, on Vanguard, Summon the Sanctuary of Light. 11k when it's got Terminator in the soul, which I think is just a fantastic name wasted on the guy. And then, the plus 3k when it attacks to all Sanctuary of Light. 10k boosters, 12k, 13k, 14k attackers. It's all really there. Wish I could really talk more about it, but it's still too simple to really bother with further explanation. I will do a quick, I'm just shuffling things into the compendium. I'll do a quick formation for you, just to see what sort of things you can expect. And then we'll move on to the last one, where I talk about, you see the portion of my beard. I can talk about the SPC now. There we go. Talk about the Buyer's Collection stuff. So let's see here. No, that's not the grade 2. Boom. Ride. Boom. Because I kind of blasted 2 for it. Let's say, just to demonstrate everything. So let's see. Vanguard, it's my turn, It attacks. Plus 3k, plus 3k. Actually, wait, yeah. Attacks the Vanguard, all units with Sanctuary of Lightning, that's plus 3k. So this column by itself has, over the entire course of the turn, gotten 7k, from 17k to 24k. That's numbers, and it's free numbers, and that's good. There's actually no cost to having to require Sanctuary of Light. Cost is something that takes away from you. It does not take away from you to use Sanctuary of Light. At the same time, it's a little inconvenient to get them out. So you gotta wait on that. Plus 3k, plus 3k. So basically, boom, it hits, crits, so on and so forth. This is, because this has an LB4, This gets plus 3k. This got another plus 3k because of being a Sanctuary of Light card. So this is a 21k column plus triggers. Now this gets plus 3k and is now 14k. This got plus 3k because there's 2 grade 3s. This is now 23k to your opponent's Vanguard, which is numbers, which will, really do some damage. Let's see here. Always trying to find the right words here. Your opponent will guard more. Be forced to guard above the usual 4 cards that it takes to guard a turn, and that's really good for you. If you've got a cross ride, maybe you want to hold off on attacking this to the Vanguard, give your triggers to here to force out more guard because it's a numbers for 13k, and instead attack an important rear guard they have in the front row. What do they have in the front row? A damage on flipper, something like Ezel's, when it rides, Counterblast 1, something coming from the top, or Vivian, that's a Vivain, that's an old one. I don't know if anyone really uses her anymore. I do for my Pelennor deck, but I'm changing that because I'm preparing for Holy Shine and Freed. So really, you need to sort of judge it. These things are more sparring match than an actual chess game or anything like that. Don't try to play chess with Vanguard. You cannot plan ahead because of just the trigger checks. Because planning ahead assumes things you can accurately predict all the time. I can, let's say we're talking about an army. I can predict how much food my army will eat, what weather we'll have, within a good and reasonable accuracy. Not because I have sonar or anything like that, just because I have a knowledge of barometric pressure. I have knowledge of the winds and what sort of things pop up in the season. All these things can be predicted, but what can't be predicted is literal chance, which is, just a second. Literal chance, like, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble thinking here. Literal chance like a drive check or something you don't know about happening. That's really puts a damper in any potential compendium situation that you need to deal with. All right, so let's talk about military brawl. Let's talk about the Fires collection. By the way, I do enjoy this deck. I just don't like the cost. If you don't mind a high cost for lots of power, sure, go for it. At the same time, it's not really one of my recommended decks. I'm keeping it... guys, sorry for the interruption there. So let's talk about the Fires collection real quick. We've got 2 legions, 3-dimensional robos, and 1 for every clan. Military Brawler Lise during your turn. Any point in the turn, by the way, main phase, ride phase, well, not ride phase technically, but main phase, end phase, battle phase, so on and so forth. This unit gets plus 3k every time your Vanguard is in Legion and you kill something. Basically, when the opponent's rearguard is put into the drop zone for any reason. That's pretty awesome because there's a lot of good reasons why. This guy kills 2. Let's see here. Knuckle Duster Dragon kills 3 rear guards just by attacking him like he would, like to a Vanguard. Pardon me. A lot of good reasons for this. I'd use it in all Legion Brawler-based Brawler decks, of which all of them are. Just for the simple fact that he gives them a little power, where they might just need a little more oomph to their columns. Brawler Shotgun Blow Dragon is his Legion mate, Legion 2000 with Lise. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit may return 4 cards from your deck drop zone to your deck once. Search your deck for a specified card in Legion. So you swipe them together. It's pretty awesome. Counterblast 2, when this unit performs Legion, you may pay the cost. If you do, your opponent chooses 2 of his rearguards and retires them. If the number of units you have is more than your opponent, which will be every single time you Legion, this gains a crit. This unit attacks. If you have more than your opponent, this unit is plus 2k. So let's say you have 2 Lysaes on the side. This unit does his ability. He's now a 22k column to crit, and each Lysay is at least 15k, preferably something more like, with boosters 22k, 21k at least. Real solid card. He's not bad as brawlers go. Still not the best they have. Really though, Brawlers is a little, like, of all the clans that they could have done, Perdition Dragon's very powerful. I mean, you just see Perdition Dragon cut through one of your columns like paper. It's like, whoo! Just losing 2 random ones which you choose isn't as powerful, because you could choose 2 things you have a lot of or 2 things you have less of. I would choose 2 rear guards in the front row and let them attack my Vanguard, but at the same time they can't minus me in the rear guards, keeping it down to only losing 2 cards in the turn. So let's talk about the other one. We have Combined Strength Seeker Longcrinus and Splitting Seeker Brutus. During the turn when your Vanguard legions, just a second, is that Legios? Oh no, just looks like an S, it's an N. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, this unit gets plus 4k. So he's a 13k attacker as a grade 2. That's pretty sweet. There are cards that when you summon them out and your Vanguard is in Legion, they are 11k. Turning these things into really easy 24k columns. I always thought that was more interesting than just a Sing Saver Restander, which, Royal Paladins did need a Restander of their own. All clans need at least 1 Restander that you can work with and mess with. But at the same time, Sing Saver wasn't really the thing that I was looking forward to being on the top. Then we got Counterblast 1 Seeker for Brutus, who legions with this guy, of course. When this unit attacks the Vanguard and this unit is in Legion, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose 4 units in the front row with Seeker, and those units get plus 3k until end turn. In other words, he gets plus 7k when he attacks. Counterblast 1 Seeker. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, search for 1 Locrinus and call it to Roar. Shuffle deck. Pretty sweet in and of itself. It's a plus 1 on Ride with Legion. He is a 26k attacker by himself. This is only on rear guard circle, by the way, so it doesn't combo with this. It's a pretty nice combination. You can run it with Marins and non-Seekers, a lot of them. As long as your grade 2s are hires, or like you have 10k attackers or Seekers. Like you can run Marins and stuff like that, and that gives you a little oomph forward, or even Toy Poogles. You should always, here's the thing about archetypes, you can break archetypes, like my Tail Joe's in the machining deck. It all depends on how bold you want to be and how much you want to risk your consistency. Let's talk about Diard, the Dimensional Robos. Let's see here. Limit Break 4, choose a rearguard with Dimensional Robo and put it to your soul. Search your deck for 1 grade 3 Dimensional Robo, ride it as stand, shuffle deck. That unit gets plus 4k until end of turn. And at the beginning of your attack step, if this unit's power is 15k or greater, in other words, just give it plus 4k with something, this unit gains a critical. You can summon up like Dayusha with it. You can summon up, let's see, Daikaiser, or anyone really, depending on your whims and how you want to build the deck. He adds a level of consistency to these things that you can really start planning out how you're going to upgrade and how you're going to go through your grade 3s. I wouldn't use him in a Daikaiser deck, just simply because I don't like removing grade 3s from the deck. Especially since you have to ride them, which is a usual -1, so I don't count it. But at the same time, you have to -1 your field with a Dimensional Robo archetype. Remember, they're Dimensional Police, and then the archetype's Dimensional Robos. For essentially a superior ride for a guaranteed ability like a crit or something like that. Maybe a Nigman. That would be interesting, I guess, to combo up. Oh no, wait, and Dimensional Robos aren't Nigwins aren't Dimensional Robos. There's something else that they haven't really done anything with since like set 8, I want to say. At the same time, you can really they're interesting cards that can be looked into. Really hope they do something like that in the future. A Legion with Enigman Storm would not be underappreciated. Here also we have Limit Break Shadow Kaiser. Limit Break 4, this gains +5 until end of battle. Counterblast 1 and put this unit into the soul from Rearguard Circle. If you have a Die Kaiser on Vanguard Circle, search your deck for one Ultimate Robo Great Die Kaiser, write it as Stand Shuffle deck. Interesting thing about him is that you can get it off earlier as a break ride. So in other words, as soon as you're at Limit Break and Die Kaiser and you don't have it in soul, just do it. It's beautiful. Because Die Kaiser's Counterblast 1 when this unit rides. It doesn't say during ride phase or anything else. Then we have the really one of the aces of Fighter Collection in general, one of the best cards in that set. Ultimate Dimensional Robo Great Die Kaiser. He's simply one of the best cards out there. He has Limit Break 4 when this unit attacks, Counterblast 2 Dimensional Robos. If you this unit gains an additional drive check until end of battle. This unit can't be used for the rest of the turn. It gets +2k, of course, all the time when there's Die Kaiser in the soul. First triplet drive in the game. No, Dragonic Overlord doesn't count because it's 3 over a long period of time, and it's only 1 per drive check. No, whatever else doesn't count. This guy is the first triplet drive. Sure, it's Counterblast 2 Dimensional Robos. You'll use 3 Counterblasts when you break ride him. But at the same time, here's what Kaiser's ability is. Every time you drive check a grade 3, you can nullify a Perfect Shield or get rid of a card that they are guarding with, essentially. So let's say they throw down a bunch of 10Ks. You can say, die. And if you get 2 grade 3s, and then you hit anyway. Because it doesn't matter how much, 10K, how much a 10K is overguarding, you still kill that 10K and it becomes a lot more manageable. Now he gives you 3 chances, so not even a quintet wall can save you, really. In the anime, Kote fought that one Shadow Paladin Witch chick, and he lost because he wasn't ballsy enough to put everything on his Vanguard and just win it there. If he had, he would have won it handily, but he put it all on a Dayusha, and she's like, 10k guard, because I'm 11k base, because Dayusha is, of course, in a 10k base. If he has more than, if he's on the Vanguard Circle and more than 14k before he attacks, or when he just begins his attack, he gets a crit, and not in Rearguard Circle, of course. So it's like, oh, come on, man. One of the great disappointments of the Cardfight anime of this sort of season, because Kote always shows up, and it's always been badass. It's always, he's one of the few people who's won against Ren. Sure, he wasn't using Shadow Paladins, but at the same time, they were severely crippled in how they could play the game, and he just mastered the deck. And Ren didn't have a Perfect Shield, which is the bane of so many people. Perfect Shield won't save you from Great Die Kaiser. Because what he did was he did 2 crits and a grade 3. Grade 3 could have killed him, and then the 2 crits would have pushed him above 36, which is what he needed. So here's State of Play number 9. Hey, to the guy who asked about, Sanctuary of Light, this is my opinion on it. This is a pretty good deck you can build off of and start making into your own. There's a lot of good things to look forward to in Fire's collection. I know I might pick myself up some of these and create my own Crazy Diamond, or Insane Diamond, as I'm calling it. And to the fellow, who I talked to over YouTube, or my Maelstrom deck profile, I hope this answers your question. You're sort of a bit confusion as to why I choose Spyros. It's got more utility over a longer period of time than Tidal does. And of course, Basil, sure, it's just another attack, and it's, something that'll go off no matter what's behind him. And of course, this is my personal style. I'm really pleased actually how this deck come out. I really didn't think about this guy until recently. I want to thank Chance Thulin and a couple others who worked with me on this and really helped make it happen. Maybe you'll see this in a couple videos in the future, but it doesn't look like I have to do many videos besides the state of play and some deck profiles. Let's see here. What else? I think that's it. Next week what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get some information about the winners of the Chicago tournament I went to. I haven't been able to look at it yet. As well as a few other things, some updates. And let's see here. I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do in the next one. I think I'm going to show an updated Raging Form Dragon deck with Shadow Lancers and a few other cards in it that I think make it more deadly, at the same time retains that Raging Form flair. Alright then, this is Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, friend of Imagine Your Goddess, ending another State of Play.